Okay. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to welcome you all to our very first event of 2021. I wanted to welcome you to the very first interview that we've done in a long time. And we have the special pleasure of welcoming Richard Lecocq, author of all the books, the story behind every track. And so let's just take a moment to make sure we are all set. And I'm going to make sure this is at the very top. It already is. Perfect. So thank you so much, Richard, for joining us. We are so pleased that you were able to take the time to talk to us today. We know that you just had a very nice addition to your family, new baby girl. So we're very happy that you could take the time to talk to us. So everyone, the great thing about Richard is not only has he been the author of this book, but he is heavily involved in the Michael Jackson community, whether it's with the estate, with Sony, with multiple projects. I just wanted to give you all a taste of the projects he's worked on. So first of all, he's the creator of the Michael Jackson Data Bank, and he's been a consultant on numerous projects, such as the Essential Michael Jackson Project, Thriller 25 Project, the French version of the King of Pop CD, the Bad 25 campaign. He was a co-organizer of the Bad 25 documentary in Paris with Spike Lee, who was actually there. He's also the author of the liner notes in The Very Best of Michael Jackson and the Diana Ross CD set. He also has another book called King, and he's the designer of the French promo merchandising for Michael Jackson and also a consultant for the official merchandising. He's also done some work with some fan magazines. He's launched the Invincible magazine, the Jam magazine, and he's a consultant for the state on many of the projects that you all have enjoyed, such as Michael Jackson Immortal and the One show. So everyone, please just warmly welcome Richard today. So we're going to launch right into the questions. And to all of our members, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it into the chat box and we should be able to see it. I see some of you are joining from Canada, from Switzerland.
Hi.
Oh, great. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course. So I actually want to start by talking about you, Richard, and your journey with this book. So first of all, when did you become a fan?
Oh, so it was way back in 1983. I was 8 years old, and I was living in a small town in France, away from Paris. And I have two sisters. I am the youngest, and they used to listen to a lot of pop music, rock music. So I kind of listened to music very early in my life. So I started when I was 5 or 6 years old. I remember my first musical shock or big moment in my life was a track by Earth, Wind & Fire, Let's Groove, because there was this robot voice in the song, and I was so amazed by that. But I was 6, so it was just something I remember like that. But then in 1983, in France, especially in France, Michael Jackson was not known at all. Because in France, they don't have this soul music culture as much as you have in UK and of course in the US. So you really had to be a fan of this music or very deep into it to know about it. So when Michael came out with the first of the thriller short films like Billie Jean and Beat it was a shock for all the young people there. And I was one of them. So actually, Billie Jean started to be very heavy radio, and my sister used to love this song. And then the first video I saw of Michael was Beat, and it was like a shock to me. You know, I was 8 years old, but some kind of way I understood that it was changing something into myself. Like it was something I never seen before, and something that I was looking up to so much. Because when you're 8 years old, you see this kind of short movie with a guy who is dressed with a red leather jacket and he dances the way he dances and he comes to bring peace between two gangs. it was very different, from what we used to see before, and everything was so edgy and new. And I remember my first record was a 7 inch of Beat It actually, and we had a friend across the street. She had the big album, the LP album of her, and I was so like I want this record so bad. So it took me years to get my own copy of Thriller of my own one. I used to have the cassette before, but the big LP, I was so little that I couldn't afford it. And so that was the beginning. It was with Beat It, and then Billie Jean, and then Thriller. And the interesting thing is that the Thriller mania was so big from '83 to late '84, and then Michael became so silent until that. It was very difficult to get news from him before the internet, before everything. It was very low key, should I say. And so when I was like 10, 11, maybe I could have changed and just give it up and go on something else. But I knew that he would come back with something else. So I was it was in my way.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, I mean, just hearing your story and how you were so blown away by the unique music and the performances of Michael, I think a lot of us kind of had that experience. I mean, a lot of the things that he did were things that none of us had ever seen before. So just hearing your story brought back a lot of warm memories from me, and I think a lot of fans can echo just similar experiences to
Yeah.
encountering Michael. So I guess from being a going from fan to now an author and someone who's heavily involved in the community, um, how did this all come about? Did you start writing the books and did the estate and Sony start contacting you? I mean, how did you get involved with so many projects throughout the years?
Oh, it was a very long journey actually. Because, as a instantly and immediately interested in the music and Michael's art. So very early on, I started to collect records. I would save money to buy records. I remember I sold my bicycle to get money to buy records. All
Oh,
this,
Aw.
and my mother was like, "What are you doing?" I just want records. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff. And when you buy the cassette of the album, the same album on vinyl, it's the same record. Yeah, but anyway, this kind of thing you have to explain to your parents sometimes.
yeah.
So anyway, so I started to be very interested in Michael's music and art in general. And then in the 1990s, I had several J fans friends, and two of them created a very, very humble but very cool fanzine called Jam. It is right. The new one was called Jam, but I will tell you later about it.
Okay.
And then my very first article was I wanted to write about Michael in this fanzine, so I wrote a little piece on the Destiny album of the
Mm.
Jacksons. And then I always had this passion of writing and this kind of stuff and to documenting stuff like that. At the same time, I was hosting a local radio show on R&B and soul music and New Jack Swing on the local radio here. And so I was very much into music, I liked it. So I started to be in touch with some of the artists. Back in the day was BMG, soul music. And then in 2001, I with the internet age going along and being more developed and accessible, I wanted to create a website about Michael. But everything I could see around didn't match what I wanted to see. I wanted to see a
Mm.
website with like listing everything Michael put out or released, solo albums with his brothers as well, works with others, all the collaborations he made, videos. So I wanted to do that. So it hence the name MJ Database Bank, that kind of database of his art. And then the website was just starting, just something I wanted to do just to enjoy, just to share my passion. And then 2003 came along. As I remember, it was not a very good year for Michaels with the trial, with the Arvizo case. And I made a promise to myself not to talk about all these nasty stories, of this negative stuff.
Yes.
But I remember the news was so big. I said to myself, okay, so this is coming now. And I knew that in France, lots of fans, cannot all the time have access to English news or to understand all the news are released in English. So I say, okay, so if I go into documenting this case, I have to do it in full. So this is why I decided to do it. I felt there was a need for the fans to have unbiased information about the case. So I decided to translate every day all the news coverage I would find. I would cross information from various sources. And during the trial itself, I would wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. every day to prepare my press review, post it for until the verdict, actually, until the verdict. And it was interesting because at that time, um, I wanted my website to be more music focused, so I continued to develop this music aspect. At the same time, I was documenting the news about the case, and then at the same time, I was still in touch with some people at Sony Music, and when some projects were out, I was able to do some kind of internet promotion, like fan support for the releases, like the Ultimate Collection, like this kind of stuff. But just uh, promotion, nothing else.
Yeah.
And then during this trial period, it was an interesting time because Micro's team wanted to develop his merchandise. So they called different websites around the world in different countries to have support to promote the product. So this is when they started to do the new calendars about Michael, the new items, stuff like that. So it was very step by step process because all the main brands, main shops, main retailers didn't want Michael's image in the shelves. So it was very baby steps process. And when the team of the merchandise was renewed, I became more involved in the creation of some of the products. So this is the way the connection with Michael's team became stronger at that time. During the trial and after the trial. We got to shift to Michael's team, and I was able to remain in the team.
Wow. Wow. That's, I mean, you pretty much took us through your journey with Michael's work and some of the hardships that he experienced.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you started your data website in the early 2000s, kind of the early days of the internet, actually. I think you were able to sort of almost position yourself as an expert, a lifelong researcher, um, someone that's just been um, committed to sharing unbiased information and thorough information. And I think just the fact that you wanted to put together a collection of information that wasn't out there, it wasn't all in one place. I think that's probably why you've been able to do so much of what you're doing, just to have such a thorough and comprehensive knowledge of Michael's life and all that he's been through. It's really amazing. So just wanted to let you know that we have members saying hi from Belgium, the
Hi everyone.
UK, Chile,
Mm.
Ireland,
I have
Germany.
friends in Chile. So maybe okay, I have to refresh. Maybe I will see. So one thing I wanted to add is that during this trial process, Garatinus did this book, Redemption, and my first major interview was with her actually, and the interview was included in the U.S. press kit for promotion. So again, it was a book that was not accessible for French audience, and with the interview, I tried to explain some of the main elements inside the book to explain why the 1993 case went that way, why it ended with the settlement of this stuff. So yeah, it's always a bit about Michael's first and foremost. What can we do best to serve him?
Mhm.
Nothing
Yeah.
else.
I think it's amazing that you were involved with that as well. We actually had the chance to speak with Geraldine this
Yeah.
past summer, and she's really, really sweet. So I'm
Mm.
happy that you're involved with that as well. So yeah, it's very important work what you've been doing.
Yeah, incredible.
So to get to back to the book itself, the book, all the songs,
Mm.
stunningly beautiful, amazing pictures, um, the years, all the details of all the songs from J5, Jackson 5, Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, History, Invincible, all the compilations, which some
Yeah,
people don't know as much about, NET, which is not talked about as much,
exactly.
Somewhere in the Dark, Free Willy, This Is It, Michael,
Yeah.
Escape, details of every song, literally every song, all the musicians involved, singles, Genesis production. There's even a Fort Jackson Addicts snips of information in every chapter that every
Yeah,
fan will appreciate,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
portrait of the key people involved in the songs and their stories, an index in the back for easy reference. I mean, it's a lot. It's
mm.
every fan's dream. um, so what gave you the idea for the layout of the book? It's so
Oh,
comprehensive.
so I will explain to you the whole story of this. So actually, I did the first book called King, as you mentioned before. So this first book was the name of King was actually a book project Michael had before he passed away with the merchandise team, but unfortunately couldn't be completed. So with the approval of his assistant, I was able to take the name and make King. And so that was 2010, 11, and 11, 10, 2011. And then in 2000, late 2016, I was working in a company. I was half freelancing for record companies like Legacy Recordings and Sony. And I was working full time in the company as well, doing marketing, but not very, into it. Not the double my life to be clear, but still, it was okay. And I was sitting at my desk, and I received an email from Hachette Publishing, and from a lady called Flavie Guédon, and Flavie was writing to me saying, "Okay, we are looking for an author to write a book about Michael Jackson because we have a series called La Totale, which means the complete with her." And this book will be part of the series. So the series includes the Beatles, Bob Dylan, Rolling Stone. So you have a volume on each artist, and they were planning to make one book about Michael in this collection. And to be fairly honest, this is the kind of email I may have been looking for when I was making King. Because when I made King, I found a smaller publishing company. They believed in me. I'm very thankful to them. But it was very difficult to put King together on many aspects. And but still, I made it. And then I say, oh, I really wish someday I could make something like bigger, like with more accessible to the mainstream public to understand Michael's art again, to make people understand that Michael was way beyond what they can sometimes have about the preconceived ideas. So I received this email, and so I replied, and I had a meeting at their offices in Paris. And very instantly, I remember I called my co-author, François, uh, who I've been working for many years on many Michael's projects as well on writing. And I say, yes, François, I have a meeting. I will tell you more about it, but I think this is something pretty cool that may be happening. So I went to the meeting, and so I started to discuss with them. And in the beginning, the book was only to talk about Michael's music, only the songs. But I told them, Michael's is an artist that the songs are attached to the videos or the short films. The short films they are tied to each other so much you cannot separate the music and the short film. So if I do this book for you, I would love to do it, but you should consider the idea to also document the short films. So eventually they agreed to this idea, and then came the question to what, because Michael's career is so vast from 1960s to the 2000s. So what section of the career they wanted to list? So first they only wanted him as a solo artist from off the wall. They said no, but at the same time he made records before with his brothers, and these records explain why he became the king of pop. So many choices made. So we agreed to just take a selection of songs from the Jackson 5 and Jacksons, and then Joe Michael's solo work. And then I went out of the meeting. I called Francois and said, "This is it. We're gonna make this book now. This is happening." And then we went there. We signed the contract. We started to write. And then they told us, "Okay, guys, you write in French, but be aware that the English version, all the songs, will be developed at the same time. So everything you write will be instantly sent to the New York office for translation. So for the timeline schedule, you cannot you cannot miss it. You have to be on cue, very sharp with the schedule." So that was kind of double pressure on us, First writing this book for such a company, and then the fact that it was simultaneously translated in English. And then we started to write. And in the beginning, they didn't want to document the Michael solo album at Motown for some reason. And then I remember I delivered a chapter about Off the Wall, and I think I mentioned Forever Michael in it. And then Fabi called me and said, "What is it, this Forever Michael album?" He said, "I told you, it says Michael he made 4 solo albums at Motown, so but you don't want to document them." I said, "Oh, you really have to add these 4 albums now in the book as well." So actually, we were writing the bad chapter, and from that, we had to go back to Got to Be There, writing the missing chapters on the 4 first albums. So which was like mind, breaking in a way. But that was fun. We really enjoyed the process with Francois. We had so much good memories of writing, digging, rediscovering stuff all over again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I can tell that it took a long time. It must have taken a long time to do all of that. I mean, I'm not very good at sticking to long-term projects. I mean, the amount of dedication that you had and all of the steps that you went through to put this massive project together. I don't think people realize how thick the book is. I know when I first saw it a few years ago, I always just saw the front of the book, and you don't have a sense of how thick it is. It's like a brick. And a lot of people in the chat didn't realize that it was that big when Tammy held it up earlier. So we wanted to know how long did it take to write the book?
A bit of 1 year and a half, close to 2 years, because there was the writing, the editing of it, so we have to adjust, and then also the photo selection. It was very important because maybe I explained this to you earlier on before we took live, but the collection angle is to document the artist and his career and his music, whatever. Not using the albums or records photos for 2 reasons. Because I think they were a bit afraid of copyright or clearances with the company sometimes, which can happen. And secondly, they say, okay, the albums covers, everybody know them. You can go in any record store, you can go on Amazon, you just know what the album looks like. So it's more interesting to show visuals that document the song or the moment we talk about with something else you can bring. So this is where we started to dig with the Getty Images archive, the Polaris archive with all the Sam Emerson photographs. I was very happy to get some of the other work inside that was not much seen in the book. There's so many pictures available these days on internet. You can download for free on Instagram, whatever. But to get them in print, for some of them, we're very happy to have them, like the alternate visual for Thriller by Dick Zimmerman with Michael with the tube, the laser tube, of course his face. So yeah, the photo selection was also a big challenge for us because it's very difficult to get Michael's interesting photographs. It can be very expensive sometimes. You have to know that photographs can be very expensive.
Wow.
we wish we could have some Herbert photographs, but Herbert's ranges are so high, very difficult.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Wow.
It's a lot of work.
That's a lot.
Our benefit now, all the anecdotes that I've read throughout, or the information you get, is beyond any other book, really. You know.
Yeah. There's some of our favorite conversations, anecdotal, little stories, hidden gems that we would never know about. They'd be lost in time. There's so many in your book. We can't pick a favorite, so we just had to pick one of 20 favorites. But we love the stories from that you dug up from Patty Austin. So that's the page for everybody. So Patty Austin, for those who don't know, duetted beautifully on "It's the Fall in Love" from Off the Wall, and she met. You talk about how she met Michael while he was filming The Wiz, and how he. You tell us. So there were two sides of his character, and that he revealed to her, and how that's treasure for us, really, because we don't know this part of Michael's life, what he was thinking very much at all, do we? So,
Patty Austin was this kind of person who recruited to Michael and was able to get like a direct link with him, and she could see Michael's the way Michael was living with all the tension with the family that were already present with brothers and sisters, especially the brothers. And you could see Michael was so full of energy and so willing and ready to explode, because The Wiz was really this moment in Michael's life where he was away from his family. He was in New York, only with him to be like a nanny to him. But this is where he felt all the opportunities that were in front of him. And interestingly, Is the Falling in Love is one of the. It's a cover, actually, as you may remember in the book, because it was first recorded by Carol Bayer-Sager on her one of the solo albums she did 1 year before. So the song was revamped and rearranged for Michael, and I think that the chemistry with Michael's voice and Patty Austin, which sometimes she can sound a bit like Michael when you listen to her.
Yeah.
You listen to the Jude album, there is a few songs like Razzmatazz where she sings, you say, really looks like Michael sometimes. And
I agree.
And I really wish they had more collaborations together, but
And she said that he was goofy and he pulled practical jokes and.
Yeah, pretty cool. This kind of stories of Michael doing jokes, you have it with Caribbean Sager, also Bill Bray, when he was alive. Sometimes I remember some interviews where he would say that Michael would put some kind of bucket full of water on the door, classical practical jokes he would make, and he would call Bill Bray would come in, and so this very innocent, naive, but very simple, not childish but childlike aspect that he had. And I think was one of the person who felt that in Michael. And this is why she always supports Michael, and she was always behind him, even during the trial. I remember during the trial, she was there to sometimes voice for him. And when he passed away, she made very touching interviews about Michael. You can see them on YouTube.
Yeah, that's really good, because we've obviously got lots of stories about him practically being a prankster with his brothers when he's little in hotel rooms, when he's doing the Jackson 5 tours. And then we have lots of stories of him on the Bad and Dangerous and History tours being a prankster. But then it's really good in terms of really understanding Michael's character, that he was doing that in New York. In the daytime, he was at Studio 54 in the night, and in the daytime he was jumping out at people and all of that. So there's that continuity which shows his integrity and all of that. So it's fantastic. Some of the anecdotes you've got. And the more curious side, when she talks about how even at that young age, he's talking about an awareness of his childhood being lost.
Yeah, this is something
That-
that I have a story about it. Was by Gloria Berlin, who wrote the book about Neverland. Maybe you know this book, because we made an interview with her for the documentary, and she explained to us that when the Jackson 5 were on tour, actually Michael was locked in the hotel room because nobody wanted anything to happen to Michael, anything bad, like kidnapped, accident, whatever. So you have this 12, 13-year-old kid locked up in his hotel room, not able to go out. And everybody knows in the entourage that among the group, he's the one who is the leader. He's the one who brings the light. He has the natural light on him, the natural talent, natural genius. And so I always believe that his way to escape all this craziness around him since he was so young, and the fact that I think he understood very early on that he was seen as I would say money machine, but he knew that people would use him in a way for money, and it happened in his family, it happened with many people. So I think he really had this inner strong desire to stick to simple values, maybe childlike values, but to be able to play and do simple things that he was not allowed to do actually. Because when you are 13 or 14 and you are locked in a hotel room, you cannot go out and play. Of course, it takes a toll. Of course, it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
Oh, really quickly, Jeanette, before you go into your next question, Richard, we've been hearing a little bit of a static feedback on your end. Is there any way for you to turn down the volume on your computer, perhaps?
Okay.
We're hearing some feedback, I think.
It's okay like that, maybe.
Are you using a microphone?
Or I can put earbuds if you prefer.
Oh yeah, that would really help. Thank you so much.
You tell me if you hear me. Okay, like that? Better?
Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's all right.
Okay, is that okay? So can we move on, Tammy?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So one more anecdote then regarding the recording of Beat It. Can you tell us the story about what happened to the speakers?
Yeah. So actually, the story I learned about it when I did the very first interview with Matt Forger for the Thriller 25 project, and I remember this is the first collaborator I ever interviewed, and he told me about this crazy story that they were playing the music. And the intensity of it was so strong in the studio. And remember that Michael was also beating on some device to make this snare, very strong snare sound. But at some point, one of the speakers got fired. So the kind of things you can invent, it just says a lot. I mean, for what was going on in the studio. And you also have the story with Eddie Van Halen who came to play for free. He just had a few kind of beers, to drink for the session, and his group Van Halen, the members were furious against him. Like, how come you went to this session not being paid? Because look what is done now. Look what it is. It's just one of the biggest thing happened of the whole time, and you don't get anything. But Eddie Van Halen was always said that he was okay with that, and he was happy to contribute the song. Yeah, but Beat It is very special to me again, because it was one of the first songs I discovered with Michael.
Yeah, and Michael particularly, you say in the book that Michael particularly appreciated Eddie not just coming in and just doing it once, but he wanted to change parts of the track to improve it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean that it's some kind of meeting you can have preconceived ideas, but I think it was just two guys like willing to make great music and good stuff, and they were just happy with that. So actually, the story was more simple than some people may think. I think it was more simple between Eddie Van Halen and Michael than it was between Michael and Freddie Mercury. because Michael and Freddie in studio was interesting. I wish the collaboration would have been going further, but yeah, the same thing with when you think of Steve Stevens for Dirty Diana. When Steve Stevens talks about this collaboration, always keeps in mind how down to earth and Michael's musical ear. This is what they always say, because if you listen to Dirty Diana, there is a very small mute moment in the guitar when he plays, the way it is played in the riff, and it makes all the difference. It makes some kind of bouncing effect in the rhythmic of the song. It is very interesting. And Steve Stevens said, yeah, when Michael brought this idea, it's just a little detail that made the big difference in the song.
Those are the nuances that make us fans, you know. Those are the things that maybe the typical person wouldn't notice. They know that they love Michael's music, but they don't always know why. It's because of those little things.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
That's why you can listen to Michael's music several times, but you always discover something when you listen to it.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
When you talk about Billie Jean's your favorite, or
yeah.
Billie Jean's one of your favorites. I'm from the I was 11 when Thriller came out, or 10 I think. So yeah, Billie Jean and Thriller and all those songs were sort of the 80s child and everybody knew about. But his creativity was so just incredible. Like he's going down the freeway and he's got this song going on in his head, and he holds on, like you're talking about. He holds on to this stuff, and so he's so involved in his creativity. He doesn't even notice the smoke coming out of the engine.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that. So is this something you commonly heard, that he's like just so that he just holds on to those little things and he can just keep it. Like you say that in your book, that he can just, it doesn't matter if there's a change anywhere, he'll know, like that little, is that something you heard commonly from people when you interviewed them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Billie Jean is a typical example of Michael's obsession of what he has in mind and what he wants to put on tape.
Right.
Interestingly speaking, is when you listen to the home demo of Billie Jean, you can hear that all the main elements are here. So what Quincy Jones brought was the idea of, and Bruce Region, of course, the idea of to record the drum set with this special cushion, that with this very specific sound to the drum, which is why Billie Jean, you can recognize from the first sound is Billie Jean. This is very, but yeah, from everything, from the bass line, from the strings, from everything, this is something that was so into him, and I think he wanted to create like some kind of the absolute song, because when you listen to Billie Jean, to me, I can feel this is a reference to the style of writing of some of the Motown songs era, and the setting was so edgy and looking to the future of the fusion of pop and funk and all this kind of music. So
yeah,
I think it's a kind of very a big synthesis of everything.
Yeah, Billie Jean was like the bridge between Motown and whatever all the other things he did in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. To me,
and to think that it almost didn't get off. Well, he wanted on the album, but Quincy wasn't a fan at first, right? Like Billie Jean song, he didn't really want it on. So can you imagine? You can't imagine Thriller without Billie Jean. There's no way. So with that, like Billie Jean, just for people that are not don't understand Michael's impact on music, it's like, can you just explain like what Billie Jean meant to the music industry and Thriller, and how that actually changed the
Yeah, Billie Jean, there was two things. First, the video came out, and it presented Michael in a new way, because the last time the public saw Michael was on the video was off the wall. He had this groovy, just like this disco funk look, I'd rock with you, and stuff together. But Billie Jean was so wow. The video itself was game changing, because Steve Aaron did this beautiful video with Michael lighting everything up with when he touched everything just to light. Yeah. But the big moment was, of course, a Motown 25 TV show, because it's very interesting, because it took place at a moment when Michael paid tribute to Motown, and he was there with his brothers. But when he became center stage solo during his songs, first it was a non-Motown song, the only non-Motown songs of the show, and secondly, the way he appeared on stage with his looks. The glove was already there during the Triumph and Destiny tours, but it was now a very iconic element to his looks. And the first time he made this moonwalk dance step, of course, it made everything go wild. And I remember I interviewed Larry Stessel. Larry Stessel was one promotion for manager at Epicos at the time. And when they saw Motown 25, they understood that the album would be rocketing and explode everything. Because remember that very few people believed in the Motown 25 TV show because Motown was quite in a slump at the time, except for Rick James doing some new stuff. It was people were not very much into Motown. But when the show aired and with Michael's performance in it, it became this legendary TV show that we know now.
Yeah, crossover. I see in your book, it seems there's a lot of stories as well where Michael encouraged other artists. Like it wasn't just about he didn't tell people what to do. It didn't seem like he would. There's a quote saying that David Peich, he was very involved and he's a perfectionist, but he would just say, I want you to have total freedom and just do what you're going to do and be an artist. Yeah. And, he sort of influenced a lot of artists to just reach down deep. And so do you have any examples of that or like?
Yeah. It's very interesting because what you said, because at some point when Michael stay oriented, go and play, this is your time, this is your moment, you have to shine. Maybe remember this moment and this is it when Michael stays oriented to do that. And I think he got this from his collaboration with Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones often says, you have to let people free. You have to just give them some guidance, but let them express themselves so that you can get 150% of their capacity, of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this ability to let people do their thing and make it natural. And sometimes, Michael said it several times, the music writes itself. Like there is this natural way of music to put together and to come in the definitive way. So, and I tell you this, and when you see some songs that take years to develop, like her song that was developed for Dangerous and eventually happened in history. So sometimes Michael's will take years and years to develop one song because he cannot rush this process. He couldn't rush this process to make the song right. Either the song was not ready at that moment, it means it has to simmer and wait and to be ready maybe later on. And sometimes it was going in a direction where the song would be finished and completed and released, and sometimes it would not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So meanwhile, he's working on that, and he's working on the ET soundtrack for. And then you say in your book that you have a chapter called "How ET Almost Killed Thriller." Not a lot of people are aware of this, and the complications between Thriller and the ET soundtrack. As much as I love that soundtrack, and I was a huge ET and Michael Jackson and Black Stallion fan back then, but it's like I didn't realize. Wow, can you just bring us through that? Like what what do you think it meant to Michael to even do that project? Like it's to sing or to read the story of the soundtrack for ET and what happened in ET and Thriller? What can you explain that to everybody?
Very interesting stuff. And the thing is that when people want to study Thriller, they sometimes overlook this aspect of Thriller because the storybook is a project that came on the table when the sessions of Thriller were already in full process. And this is friendship of Quincy Jones and between Quincy Jones and Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg wanted to do some kind of storybook, and he felt that Quincy could do it. And then they had Michael do it, and Michael was such a big fan of Steven Spielberg back at this moment. So they went into it. But the thing is, two things. First of all, the sessions of the storybook took way longer than expected because Spielberg was asking more and more stuff to do. and he wanted the opening song and the closing song, and he wanted to be more developed. And first, and also you have to turn a 2-hour movie into a 40 minutes storybook, which is difficult to do. And also the second part is that the Spielberg's team overlooked many legal details regarding Michaels and his contract with CBS, and which is why it came to the point where the NCA was not able to sell the storybook the way they intended to sell it. And they had to make a special arrangement to only press 500,000 copies, and that's it, just one run and no more else. And so Matt Forger explained to me because he was in charge of documenting the sessions and be assistant sound engineer on this project, that there were 2 studios, one for Thriller, one for E.T., and Michael was like, going back and forth between 2 studios, but E.T. was eating up the time over the session, to the point when the first master of Thriller didn't sound the way they wanted it to be. So, which is why they took time to reconsider the tracks, remix all the tracks one by one, and to deliver the proper copy of Thriller. But yeah, you cannot separate E.T. to me as part of process is concerned, because they were made at the same time. Like Thriller wouldn't be Thriller if it was not made at the same time.
Right.
It's very important. Very, very important.
It is. And I'm sure, like, I from what the book, when I read the book, it seems the way you describe his excitement and doing the ET, and he's just like right in there, like as if he was with ET, and he's probably, to be artistic and to let himself out, almost like the Wiz in a way, and how that meant a lot to him to be part of ET. And then now your book also mentions that, like Somewhere in the Dark is a beautiful song, and I'm sure I feel like that song is like, that song really grabs me, because it's like he's in the cross line of like his innocence and then just going now into this superstardom, and he's like, like sort of like an ET, really, that way, connect to ET. And how like Spielberg, now you have a quote in your book that says that basically Somewhere in the Dark was thus erased the glorious history of the movie E.T. as a story album, was the awkward cousin, that E.T. the Storybooks remains a rare pearl that has gone to waste, like the abandoned brother, without whom the creation of Thriller would not have been the same. And the disconnect between him and Spielberg and his betrayal. So it's like it's really involved. Like you don't even know.
Yeah, goodness, but it's so melt into each other. And don't forget that the storybook got 1 Grammy Award for Best Children Album. So this is a cursed project that was only released once, that it cannot be released for many legal reasons these days. And still, it got 1 Grammy Award. So it's a very unique story, this storybook. And it's one of my favorite Michael projects he ever made, to me. I really love it.
Me too. I love that album. And just his face, he's with ET. When you on the album and the T-shirts, I have a T-shirt like that. He's just so happy. He's just happy. And then Spielberg, just wasn't the greatest guy after that.
After there was a big fallout with Spielberg later on, but different story.
Right.
Someone in the Dark is, that's just one of my favorite songs of Michael's. It's interesting because you catch him at a moment before he really developed that signature raspy voice that he uses later in his other pop albums. And so it's just a really sweet song. And I know here in the US, it wasn't, even though he got the Grammy for it, it wasn't officially released here. And so a lot of people here in the US don't really know that much about it, or the ET project as a whole. So I think it really is a loss overall. And I actually didn't discover it until much later in my life. So I'm happy that it exists, but I just wish it got more attention.
I think you almost have to be born then, because E.T. was my first movie ever. It was like huge. Like I was, at the theater. That was my first theater experience. Michael Jackson's my first. Like that was just all happening at the same time. So I don't think, it's like ET wouldn't is sort of, we know about it, but not really. Like, well, I do because I was born then, but like it is a rare pearl for sure. It's beautiful.
But funny thing, that Somewhere in the Dark was intended to be released as a single on the market by MCA, and CBS stopped MCA doing this, so only promo copies of the single was made. So this is not the most expensive Michael's record to buy. It's
very rare.
I think the estimation is around $700, $800 or something like that.
Yes, yeah,
though the first official release of the song was the 2001 special edition of Thriller. You have it as a bonus track, and then it came back again on the Ultimate Collection in 2004. You have it on the set as well. But this is a very overlooked and underestimated song to me, and it was co-written by Rob Templeton again, and it is a kind of badass that he was able to write music, was able to write, which is just beautiful. And so I really wish the song got more exposure or was more praised than it is actually.
Yeah, I guess I'm grateful that a lot of those some of those lesser known songs have come back around in the compilations. Someone just mentioned the song "Fly Away." I love the song "We've Had Enough," and I didn't even know that existed until the Ultimate Collection came out. And so all of these lost songs, and I just checked out the ET storybook on eBay a few weeks ago, and it was it's very expensive up there. Almost 1,000 in some instances. So so we know the lesser known songs, but then we also know the more popular songs that any casual fan would be more familiar with: the Dirty Dianas, the Smooth Criminal. So we kind of want to transition into some of those songs. We all know a lot of the history behind those, but I think you really tease out some really interesting tidbits in your book. So for Dirty Diana, can you describe the genesis and what you think this title may be referring to and why? This is highly debated in the community, right?
Yeah. Because the story is so long, because it goes back to the story with Diana Ross. What do you mean? That's what you want to? This is it, about Diana Ross story.
Yeah.
Well, some people,
this is the kind of songs where this is the mystery around. Like, remember the time when you used to purchase a single? Remember the time it was written in the back, dedicated to Diana Ross. So why Diana? Why this name? So there were so many stories around it, but we know for sure that Michael was so pleased when Diana Ross married this. I think it was from Norway. This North Europe billionaire. His name. So you can feel there was a disconnection between two of them, because they all written together, and then Michael switched to Liz Taylor, like this thing, something like that. So at the same time, Michael always said it was a kind of groupie song. So interestingly, he took this name to put it on the very dark and negative stories about women, like groupie, like women chasing the guys in the groups, waiting backstage, this kind of stuff. But then Michael realized that the song also had the same first name as Lady Diana. So when he came to perform the concert in Wembley, he wanted to take the song out of the show, but she insisted for him to sing the song in English because she loved the song. But so Diana, who is the real Diana in the end? But what I think about it is that Michael was different like that about women chasing him. And for the media, it would be interesting, instead of being on Michael's and what didn't happen at Neverland with these two con guys, Robson and Safechuck. They should consider all the girls that were chasing Michael, and all the girls in the early 80s, when I started to be a fan. We would read many stories like all these girls said she had Michael's child. All these girls is saying that Michael tried to rape her in the car. So there was always stories about Michael and the girls as well. And I think he was so exposed to that with his brothers, and also many girls came to him as well. So Billie Jean and Dirty Diana is some kind of synthesis of these girls. And when you think of Billie Jean, he makes people dance on very dark story.
Yeah.
And on Dirty Diana, it makes you listen to a rock song with, again, such a very dark story about what's happening between a guy and a girl. So this is very, I think the lyrics are sometimes underestimated when it comes to Michael.
Yeah, I think a lot of more casual fans, sometimes they don't actually delve into the lyrics because it can be quite dark. And Michael, he does have some darker songs. I know there are some people in the chat that are bringing up Morphine and other songs like that. And, you know, the sound is so, it can be a dance song, you know, you kind of, maybe you don't pay so much attention to the lyrics when you're dancing to it, but when you really sit down and look, you're like, oh, wow. So he definitely had a lot of layers to his song. And I think that's what made his music and songwriting so unique, as you've pointed out. And of course, we have Smooth Criminal, Annie. You know, the famous line, Annie, are you okay?
One of my favorites was Criminal.
Yes. You know, can you tell us a little bit more about Michael creating the sound of the heartbeat and who he was referring to with the name Annie?
Yeah, so actually there was the first version of Smooth Criminal, which is called Al Capone, like released on Band 25. This is using the same, the very cousin rhythmic stuff. So actually, again, the lyrics are very dark because the story of Smooth Criminal is very dark. It's about a girl being attacked and raped, and it talks about blood and Annie is a reference to the CPR door that you have. And Marfosha explained this clearly, that this Annie was the name of the door you have on the box of the CPR mannequin to practice. And but very early on, Smooth Criminal was a song that Michael had in mind with a visual interpretation. But very early on, when he wrote the song, he was thinking about the short film, which is why this is a song, one of the songs I really insisted on Ashed to say, if we wrote about the song, we have to write about the videos because they are so blended into
they go together. Yeah.
And so Vince Patterson met with Michael. Michael gave him the instrumental version of Smooth Criminal. He said, okay, listen to this song, to this music, and tell me what you feel, what you see. And this is how they came along with this Club 30s atmosphere, like Chicago, like this gangster stuff, and how the song, since the beginning, was considered as a visual statement at the same time, which is something Michael will repeat after, like a Ghost and this kind of stuff. But when the song, as you may know, Smooth Criminal was the very first title of a bad album. At the beginning, the album was to be titled Smooth Criminal. So, since the beginning, it was a very important song for him, and some kind of climax during the promotion, like Thriller was, which is what actually, because when Moonwalker was released, Smooth Criminal was a big piece to watch. So yeah, this is one of Michael's most ambitious and signature song to me.
Absolutely.
And I remember buying the 12-inch record, all the mixes, and I would listen and listen again and again to these mixes. So it's very simple song when you listen to it, but the best thing stuff. But it's so, again, the way it is produced, all the layers and the drums and the bass lines, just
The
crazy.
layers, you can always find something new in a Michael song. It doesn't matter how many times you've listened to it. You know, and again, the songs are simple and they're danceable, but again, there are those layers. There are sometimes those darker themes. I just thought of Blood on the Dance Floor, and you know, it kind of gives me it's a different feel, but you know, the lyrics again can be dark, but it's such a danceable song, and there's so many things that you can pick out. So I like the fact that you took that approach to writing this book and pulling all of those details out. I don't think that gets enough attention. You know, Michael Jackson, of course, people see him as this great artist, but I feel like they don't give enough credit to the intricacies of his music and his songwriting.
the execution, the deep research of everything, the sounds, the sounds, the instruments, the lyrics,
Yeah.
the phrasing, the rhythm. It's you may
Yeah.
listen to many artists, but always go back to Michael for this reason.
Always. Always.
Mm.
Guys, I think we still have some echo. Can we just check our tabs, all of us, make sure we haven't got the Facebook Live running in the background on any unseen tabs?
Okay.
I can just hear some echo talking. It might not be from that. I don't know. Just a little check.
Yeah. Make sure your phones are turned down and there aren't any other tabs open on your computer. Good point, Jeanette.
All right, because we have so many tabs these days. Sometimes we forget. Our next question, Richard, is about collaborations. Now, I thought I was a pretty big fan. I thought I knew a lot of Michael Jackson facts and rarities. But reading this book, I learned so much about, even when one little snippet of a backing vocal is used from an unreleased track, you've got it and you've put it down in the book. It's amazing. Could you tell us about your personal favorite collaboration that Michael did? Maybe it was an unknown one or not a very famous one.
First of all, I want to say that this collaborations is probably one of my favorite aspects of Michael's career, because when he worked with all these artists, it would always bring something good, and it would explain some of the choices he made on his albums after. So, wow, what collaboration I love most.
You can say a couple.
Yeah. So I love the one with Dave Mason, Save Me, for example. I love the one with Kenny Loggins, Who's Right, Who's Wrong, which is one of the first he made. Just Friends with Carol Bayer-Sager. And also I'm a huge fan of Blackstreet, and I love Joy, the song Joy, which is just, and I got the chance to interview Tammy Lucas, who covered the song, and she's just a beautiful person. And the song is, I wish it was, again, something that would get more, even if it was single, it didn't get the success I think it should have gotten. Some of the duets he made, I'm not that much a big fan of these duets with Paul McCartney. I love them, but they're not my favorites. But yeah, this kind of earlier song, like Dave Mason, Carol Bayer-Sager, Minnie Riperton, I'm in Love Again, beautiful song. This kind of all this. Also, he also wrote songs like "You're the One" for Jennifer Holliday, which sadly has never been released on CD. We always try to hope it would be one day on CD. But, and the very first version of Love Never Felt So Good was for Johnny Mathis on his album. But and another one, I finished with this, but the extended version of Muscles with Diana Ross. The long version of Muscles is just wow, because it just this ups and downs and Michael's fingers and his
I just
backing
think of the music video. The music video is just so silly.
Yeah, different story. When you look at it, you say, what happened?
Yeah.
But I know it's a video for the girls.
Yeah.
And the songs with Carol Bayer-Sager and Minnie Riperton, I really love these songs. His voice was so soulful in it. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. The other question I have is about what's your assessment of Michael's contribution to fighting racial injustice and inequality in the United States through his art? So using his art to fight as activism. We know a lot about that these days, but it wasn't really something that we consciously talked about in the 80s and 90s. I'm referencing his representation of Black artists, particularly female leads in short films. I'm talking about themes and contents in, his songs, Black or White, the Panther scene, sequence at the end, They Don't Care About Us. What do you think? What do you think about that?
So what I think is that Michael was such a big established and mainstream artist that for people in the media, it was easy for him to label him as a mainstream artist and just from that point to overlook message.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it in black or white, he pays tribute to Indian community. He pays tribute. It makes a reference to the Indian way if you look at it, because this is something that in history happened with this community, and it was so bold to see the Indian dancing on the podium in the he tried to bring all together Indians with the Russians, lots of messages in just one video and one song. It was at the time of the war in Iraq, if I am correct. So, and most of the time it was interpreted as something naive or something like that. When Earth Song was released, I remember people saying, "Oh, this is a song again for let's say the planet. It's so important." But look at today what's going on. So Michael was so in advance of humanity. So to me, he was the ultimate supporter of what I call the black rock spirit, which means that black artists are the origin of the popular music we listen to today. Little Richard, Chuck Berry, and Michael paid tribute all the way during his life to these people, to the point that when Little Richard couldn't get back his own catalog, Michael purchased this catalog. He gave it back to Little Richard. He said, "You will take your music away, so I give it back to you now."
Yeah.
And I think he was as mainstream as much as deep, and for the media and again the media in general, it cannot be that way for them. So they always try to break him down on very very strange points. But to me, it's clear that Michael was way in advance, way ahead his time, first of all, and he said things that many key people in the industry knew were disturbing. And this is why sometimes he was silenced, or people tried to silence him, because they understood that Michael understood many things and tried to do things his way. So when he purchased the ATV catalog for the Beatles, it was no incident. He knew he was trying to bring back the black community, or his community anyway, because Michael was proud to be a black American, to bring back something that he felt was taken away from them. And yeah, so I think again it's sad that songs like our songs, more personal songs like Morphine, were totally laughed at or mocked when they were released. I remember reading reviews about Morphine like it's just noise, stuff like that. But when Michael passed away, some journalists said, "Oh, actually, he wrote a song called Morphine. It's interesting." So he was dealing with drug issues way before that. So sometimes it's in front of people's eyes, and people want to see what they want to see, sadly, in a way. But on the long run, we saw last year that "They Don't Care About Us" was again one of the anthems for the Black Lives Matter movement. So these kind of songs are always coming back up front when something is happening in the society. So I think Michael's message is bold and bigger than that. And on the long run, it cannot be countered, it cannot be limited, it cannot be underestimated, because people just feel it. This is why people always turn to Michael in such times sometimes.
Absolutely, that's exactly what the next question was about. His "They Don't Care About Us" for the Black Lives Matter campaigns, and everything's an anthem this year, it seems, with the pandemic, and Heal the World, and all these songs are coming out again. And it's just, this book, really, your book, one of the things I really loved about it is hearing about his contributions to, like, Jennifer Holliday, for example. She's, he sees her, she's doing a biopic play about the Supremes or whatever it was. Yes. And he was so moved by her, and she's a young, Black artist lady, and he gave her the song just to help. He just gave it to her to help her career, or he would contribute as a backup singer, just to help them. And it seems like when people would approach him, to say, hey, can you do something? He would show up and he would do it. And just to be generous. Even with that, he was generous to help a lot of artists, and especially Black artists, just, give them a like.
At that time, he would do it boldly, but as time went on, it was more and more blocked by his contract with CBS and then Sony. So he would do it, like undercover. For example, on Sapphire album,
that's why we
never heard.
didn't know about it till now.
Yeah, it's not related to Michael. If I have the CD, it's not written Michael Jackson. It's wrote My Jack music, but it's not written Michael Jackson anywhere. So he would just sometimes working undercover. It's crazy, it's Michael Jackson, but that's the way the situation was for him in the 90s, especially because these collaborations are less and less present in the 1990s and onwards because of that.
Right.
Which is sad.
So how do you think the world should recognize his contribution to music? I know right now we're obviously in a fight against some pretty bad publicity about him, and just his contribution is, needs to be known.
I think they should remember that Michael was the first 360-degree artist in the way that in popular music. I mean, he was about music, about videos, about conversation. Same was always the next level with him. So I wish people would understand that the magnitude of his craft and his ability as an artist to develop and to bring to life his ideas to the fullest. No compromise in quality and in anything. And I think people will also be able to acknowledge and see the fact that he was a barrier breaker. He broke so many barriers, and he was able to break many racial barriers still present in the early 80s with MTV, for example. And everything he made, not only as an artist, but also as a humanitarian, as his charity work.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that the artist who gave the most money to charity ever. So, but I think that when people get to sit down and listen to Michael and watch him and whatever, they understand this honest, the honesty of his work, the honesty of his character, the honesty of what he's doing. There is no cheating with Michael. As I always say, sometimes you can be disappointed with people in life or whatever, but the song never give up on you. The song never cheats on you. If the song is good, it will always be good to you. So Michael gave a lot of good songs and songs that are always here for us to be inspired and to be lifted up.
Mm-hmm.
That's my view.
So we have some fan questions. I think, Steph, are you able to put it up on, whatever? There's some fans questions out there that maybe we can have now.
Yeah. I can be with you for 20 more minutes.
Okay, great. That's perfect.
Okay. All right. I can. Let's see. Do we want to do the fan questions and then have Richard talk about his books, book selections, or which one do we want to do first? Fan questions? Okay. All right. Yeah, there are quite a few. Let's see. Okay, so how many songs are in the book?
It's 263. So
wow.
It was a choice to make. We didn't document all the songs from the Jackson 5 and Jacksons. Otherwise, it would be another book, the Jacksons, all the songs,
Oh.
It's Michael songs, but we added a selection of Jacksons and Jackson 5 songs to explain the story of Michael, because some of the songs are very important for him as an artist and his evolution.
Yeah, it's hard to tell the story of Michael without,
exactly.
Those Jackson 5 or Jackson's albums. And I think a lot of fans would do well to explore that period of his life a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did mention Morphine very briefly. Yeah. It's a very different song. I don't know if I would you describe it as sort of like an industrial rock sound?
Yeah, very industrial rock, very edgy. Actually, it was intended for history, but it ended on Board the Dance Floor. Sony didn't want to put the song out at the time because it was too dark and again didn't match the Michael Jackson image they wanted to promote. But the song is so personal. It's about Michael dealing with drug, with propofol and Demerol at the time. And the song is so well built with this bridge, with the piano, with the very relaxed moment that the drug effect can bring to you, and then you dive into the hell of the drug system. So very very personal song, and Michael wants to play it on live on the history. Again, it didn't happen. There were some rehearsals of the song in Europe. Mm.
That I didn't know. Yeah, I think you really described it perfectly. There is that very soft piano sound, and if you're just laying in bed with your headphones and you're enjoying that, then it just punches you in the face with those industrial. It's very startling and very abrupt, and I think it's definitely intentional. Okay, so I don't even know if you can answer this question, but do you even have a favorite or a least favorite? Impossible, right?
Favorite, I can say I love songs like Liberian Girl, Another Part of Me, Smooth Criminal, again, Fly Away, I love Fly Away a lot. And the least favorite songs, difficult for me, but difficult to pick one like this, but not much least favorite one, but songs that I don't listen much to, like maybe some song on the history album. I love Too Bad is a song I like, but not much. Not much in a way that not as much as the other ones. And Superfly Sister, the song is okay, but to me it doesn't bring anything to Michael musically speaking much. But I understand the song, but this is not a Michael I like most.
Superfly Sister was it was another one of those songs that was developed over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I always thought it was interesting too. I don't know, from based on the lyrics, do you think he's talking about his family, his literal sisters and brothers?
Yeah, it was the rumor. It was about his sisters. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
and
me too.
We have the Lost Children is a favorite here in the group. It's actually what inspired our logo with the moon and the forest and the starry sky. So do you have any thoughts about the Lost Children?
I love the song, and once again, one of the songs that Tommy Mottola didn't want to have on the album, and Michael very made it clear that he wanted to release the song. And there was a campaign in the work around that song to print faces of missing child on bottles of whatever to try to help find this kid. And this is one of the last songs Michael worked on with Tom Baylor. Tom Baylor is an arranger Michael made way back on The Wiz. And there's a production, everything itself. And Michael wrote the songs. This is one of those few songs he wrote himself for Invincible alone and produced. So if we have it on Invincible, it's thanks to Michael, because again, Sony, but more specifically to me, I didn't want the songs to be on the album. He said, no, I don't want you to make any songs about children now. So.
Okay. And just a structural question, is there a separate chapter for all of the collaborations and writings for others that you mentioned earlier? Okay, yes.
You can pick their book as you want. You can read all the introductions.
Okay.
One after the other. You can read all the collaborations. You can read the way you want.
Okay, and another part of me is a really interesting one because it kind of goes with the Captain EO pre-thriller phase.
Between Victory and Thriller, very interesting.
Yeah, that's a very interesting transition for him. I think he was really finding himself. Do you know any other information about another part of me besides Captain EO?
Yeah, when you listen to the introduction, the synthesizer sound, it's really reminiscent to the THX logo sound that used to have for maybe you remember this THX, the Lucasfilm sound introduction, which is very theatrical for movies. So it's really
Oh, yeah.
reminiscent of that. And the song was developed for Catenio, and it was developed with Matt Forger again. And I think it has some hidden message of Michael being influenced by his culture as a Jehovah's Witness. Some of the lyrics can remind you of that. Like, can you feel it in a way? So, can you feel
Yeah.
it? And other part of me can be a bit in a way cousin sounds in that aspect. But it was so much written for Catenio, but still they were able to extract this for Catenio and made it the song itself for the bad album.
Very interesting. And I think this is going to be our last question, just so we have enough time. Your favorite tour or era? Jackson 5 or the Jacksons? That's hard.
Okay, for favorite tour, Bad tour, because it was the very first concert I went to. I was 13. My very first concert was Bad tour, and yeah, to me, that's whatever. And Jackson 5 or Jacksons, I'm very happy because I love many of Jackson 5 albums, like Get It Together, like Diana Was President Jackson 5, and I'm a huge fan of a Destiny Triumph and the live album. Live album is to me like one of my favorite
Yeah, me
album
too.
that Jackson. The energy in this set is just so wow, so.
We have a lot of Destiny fans in here as
Yeah, I
well.
love the song.
Yeah.
I love.
It's I like finding footage of a concert. It's hard to find high quality footage from the concerts from that era, those earlier eras. I wish that they had been preserved a little bit better. But
do you have, I just have one question. Do you have like a favorite story you heard throughout your investigations? Is there something that you just love, like your favorite story about him or anecdote?
Oh, but yeah, some of these stories. Jason Patterson told me about him and Michael on the set of Beat It. Very hectic stories because on Beat It set they were really shooting on the in a dangerous area in Skid Row, and they were speaking on the window, and they get blood stains, blood drops falling on their jackets. And they looked up and they saw a guy going from one window to the other, injured, trying to find his way to escape. So this is how dangerous it was to work on the Beat It set. So and
Wow.
some kind of real life experience that Michael had like that, and yeah, this is the one I have. I'm sure there are others, but and the storybook. When I heard how the storybook was made and how it interfered on Twitter, this is one of my favorite stories actually because it's just crazy that it went that way, and that it took so much time and space on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true.
so wow. I mean, I just can't imagine. You're like a walking Michael Jackson encyclopedia. I feel like I could ask you anything about Michael and you'd know so much about it. So you're just chock full of knowledge. So because we're a book club, we are happy to talk about your book, which is basically a reference or a Bible of all Michael Jackson music. But you did mention that you had some of your own favorite books that you might want to recommend to our members
so we,
and share with us.
we can end with this. Okay, so I will show you a few stuff. So first, maybe you know this book. It was in the 1990s in his own words by okay, you can see it like this.
Oh yeah.
What is it Michael Jackson quotes?
It's a Michael Jackson book.
What is
it's
it
a book
called?
about it's in his own words.
Oh, I have that. I was like, that looks familiar. Yeah, it's really good. I got that one.
Okay.
His own words.
Quotes, right? All the quotes he has. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Very interesting. So this kind of books I always go up to sometimes to remember quotes. This one, which is one of the first reference book I purchased, it's called Secrets and Shades. Maybe it's a bit shiny. Yeah, Secrets and Shades. It was issued in 1987, so it's a reference book with the listing of all the things that was released in US and UK by Michael and the Jackson 5 and Jacksons, with bibliography. It's a reference guide, and you can find it on eBay. Sometimes it can be a bit pricey, but sometimes you can look and find a cheap copy. But I purchased this book when I was 17 during my first trip to England, and I always get back to it. I always go to check things in it. It was a very important book for me. So many.
Who's the author on that one?
It's the name is Terry.
Terry. Okay.
I can give you more maybe here.
Yeah,
Carol
we're definitely going to post these.
Yeah.
Okay,
Find it. That's, I think we can search it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Shirley saying she's never heard of that one. Wow.
Me neither.
And this one is a very interesting story I will tell you now. So this is a book that was released in Switzerland a few years ago about Michael's art, And actually, I had the chance to meet with Michael's mother, Catherine Jackson, and I brought this copy of book to her. And because she signed a foreword in it, there was a foreword by her inside. I said, "Oh, I really love this book. You made the foreword; it's very good." And she looked at me. She said, "I never did any foreword for this book." So, okay, so I was a bit surprised. And the thing is that the artist Brett Livingstone Strong made the book on his side, not telling Catherine Jackson that the book was going to be released in Switzerland. And he took a text she wrote, something like that, not telling her what was going on. So she was a bit surprised because the story actually started a few years before between Catherine and Brett Livingstone Strong. And this was a prototype book that they made together. So this is the same version, the same content as this, but with this presentation. And it also includes some of Michael's, I can show you, maybe you can see.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there were two versions.
Sorry, what was that one called? What is that one called?
The same.
It's the same.
I never saw that version of it.
Yeah. So this one is a prototype, so it was never released. So it was the very first version they drafted to make it to the public. So this is the only one that was made to the public. So.
Oh, okay. I have that.
That's rare.
Yeah.
So
Rare.
for the and also I really love this book. So,
really, I love it. Yeah. Oh.
And something about Michael the Human I like. This is this one.
Yeah. We love that one.
And on my to-do list, I have to read the Talita's book. I have many books to read these days that have been out recently, so I can wait to read this ones as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of books we could read for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Definitely.
It's a full-time job. It really is. Everybody in the book club too. We're always like, we have a wish. We have lots of books already, but we also have a wish list. Never ends.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, there are always new books coming out, so that kind of that keeps things fresh and exciting.
So let's pick it up. Yeah.
About these new ones.
Yeah. Well, we just wanted. Oh, go on.
Yeah, just to say, we've been working on a few new content with Francois and stuff. So we will let you know about what's next and some stories we want to publish soon.
That'd be great.
Not books necessarily, but some stories I've been working on that will be interesting for you. So I will let you know. I'll share with you.
Oh, please, yes.
Please keep us posted on any of your upcoming projects. We're just so grateful. We're just really so grateful that you've taken the time to, one, speak to us, and you've taken the time to, commit such a large portion of your life to studying and getting to know the artist and the person, Michael Jackson, and for putting all of what you've learned into this book that we can reference forever. And like I said, you are a walking encyclopedia, and to know that there is a reference, a comprehensive reference that exists out here, because our fear as a book club is that a lot of the artistry and the work that Michael has done will be lost one day. But just knowing that there's something like this out there kind of puts us at ease, because at least it's been preserved. The work, the nuances, the detail of his craft. have been preserved. So we're so grateful and thank you for your commitment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Richard, I forgot one little question that I meant to ask, and I skipped it. So how has he personally changed your life?
Oh,
Yeah.
changed my life in the way that
I know, but I had that as my last one and I missed it. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, changed my life in the way I see and understand things, and the way I commit myself to anything around me, to always try to bring the best out of me in everything I can. Constant inspiration in everything, like always studying what he made, he did, and the way he would treat people, the people he would work with. It's always teach me how important it is to always respect yourself, respect the people, and always train yourself. Never take anything for granted. Always train yourself, and always know that you don't know everything. You just learn every day. So with Michael, I'm one of the person who say I learn every day about Michael. This is what I really love about it. So yeah, this is this kind of vision of always looking forward and always trying to strive for the best. Always.
Yes.
So
I think, I think through his life, through Michael's life, we can learn to definitely be our best and challenge ourselves to be our best. I think that's really one of the things that he stood for. So I'm just glad that he had that influence on you as well as all of us, his fans. And everyone on the live stream is saying thank you for speaking with
you,
us.
everyone. And thank you to you for being here, for being in club, for doing this, and it's very important. So please keep going.
Thank you.
And, I'm sure we will speak again. There are
we will.
We only got through about one of the.
Yeah.
Yes.
To make
yes. And like I said, keep us updated on your future projects.
I will.
And to everyone in the chat, good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in. All right.
Thanks,
bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.